Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this month's interview we have a familiar face if you are used to watching booktubers. We have Olivia-Savannah Roach, who is a campaigns assistant at Canongate. Hope you find this interview useful and enjoy.
Hey there, I'm Olivia-Savannah and I am campaigns assistant at Canongate Books. On a day-to-day basis, I have different jobs depending on which day of the week it is and also what is currently going on. But some of the things that I tend to do for the publicity side of things are to go through the clippings and make copies of any articles or papers that mention our books or review our books. I tend to send out publicity updates regarding what is going on with our books and keeping bookshops involved with what publicity is going on. In the marketing department, I am creating assets that are used on our Instagram and also used on some of our other social media platforms. I run our TikTok with a colleague and we come up with ideas for our TikTok videos, which I'll mention and hopefully have a link for somewhere if you'd like to check out the Canongate TikTok. We have a lot of fun doing that, so we make sure we get a video up every single week and are interacting with the community. I also run read-alongs that we host on our Instagram, and those are including interactive stories every single week, and on a monthly basis we choose a different Canongate paperback title that has recently been released. And so those are two things that are a lot of fun, but I'm also one of the main points of contact for influencers and bloggers who would like to receive review copies and will be sharing and talking about our books online. So those are some of the things that I do as part of my role. So how did I begin my career and what is my background? Well, I always like to say that it started when I was 13, because when I was 13 I created my very own book blog, and that was my first introduction to a group of people, a community of people talking about books online. And I have been online talking about books ever since. I basically went where the people were. I eventually joined book Twitter, I joined book Instagram, I joined BookTube, which is one of my main platforms at the moment. And I've even recently joined BookTok as well, because that is where people are and I just want to expand and talk about books on different platforms. So I'm active on all of them except for my blog. That is the only one that has disappeared over the years, even though we had a good solid long run. But that is something that immediately connected me to the publishing community, because as a blogger I started to receive attention from publishers who wanted to send me free books for me to talk about them. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating. I went on to study English literature and creative writing at university, which continued and grew and cherished my love of books. And then after university I was quite set on wanting to be one of those people that is sending books to booktubers and content creators, and that was kind of one of the roles that I wanted. And as I looked into careers that you can get in publishing, it seemed like publicity and marketing were the two departments which would really offer me that role. But even then, as someone who was learning about the publishing industry, I didn't really know what the difference was between publicity and marketing. I then stumbled across Creative Access in my research process, and they are a fantastic website and agency who are really trying to get people into entry-level positions, and sometimes they do things where they're particularly looking for a certain demographic of people to enter into roles and to make publishing more accessible, but also all creative industries. And through Creative Access I landed an online mentorship due to the pandemic, which was a mentorship with someone who works in Penguin, and those mentorships are happening every year it seems, and they are so valuable to get insight into the publishing world. And I was partnered with Chloe, who is marketing, or who is and was at the time marketing director at Penguin Vintage, and it was just so fascinating because she was in the marketing department and was really able to help me clarify and understand what separates publicity from marketing, which might feel obvious when you're within the publishing industry but might not while you're on the outside of it. And because I got that mentorship, it really just gave me the first step inside, and after that I was interviewing for jobs and ended up at Canongate. And at first I was sales and campaigns assistant, which meant I was working across the sales, marketing and publicity department and really trying my hand at a lot of different skills. But I'm now campaigns assistant and just working with marketing and publicity. Well, I really liked when I started to look for jobs how Canongate was very open-minded about what I needed and what I didn't need. I basically brought the skills that I had learned from creating booktube videos and bookstagram photos, which was that I knew how to use photo editing programs and video editing programs, and I knew social media inside and out, which are very big aspects of marketing. It's not everything that marketing does, but those were some things that I learned. And as a contact for review copies, I kind of knew how publishers were approaching the influencers that they wanted to work with. So those were some of the skills that I had. I also had a lot of management skills because I'd worked in schools with children and such, so I knew how it was like when you're in a very chaotic work environment and you have a lot of tasks and you need to manage those. And those are some of the skills that I could brought with me, but I will say that since I've been working in publishing, I've learned and gained a lot of skills too, which are incredibly valuable, but no one has to have all the skills when jumping in. What do I wish I knew sooner about the job and the industry? I wish that I'd taken the time to look into independent publishers a bit more. I think once you start with publishing, you think of the big five, you think of Penguin, you think of Hachette, you think of Pan Macmillan, but maybe you don't look into some of the independent publishers that are around as well, and they are so incredibly valuable. Canongate is an independent publisher and I absolutely love working there, and I love seeing what types of books that they produce. And of course I do think independent publishing must be different because I haven't experienced mainstream publishing, but it must be quite different, and I quite like where I'm at right now and the things that it affords me, especially as someone who was in an entry-level position. It did mean that I got to try my hand at a lot of different skills and kind of see where I wanted to really fit in to the industry with my very first job. Instead of being in a very specific, only a marketing department or only a publicity department, I got to try my hand at 3 different departments before deciding where I really wanted to be. My favourite part about my job is when I get to interact with fellow book lovers. So as I said, I really wanted to have a role where I could be talking to influencers and engaging with their content and encouraging them to read our books and talk about our books, and that is definitely one of my favourite things about my job still. But because I am creating for our TikTok and doing the read-alongs, I don't only get to talk to influencers, I also get to talk to the people who read books and who are excited about books and want to interact with books in another level with the read-alongs and in another level with following a TikTok from a publisher, and that is great and fantastic, and I have a lot of fun with that as well. I think the most challenging part of my job is that I do work across 2 departments, marketing and publicity, which means that both of them come with their individual tasks and their individual priorities. The most challenging, I do like organisation to be fair, so it's quite fun, but the most challenging thing is setting up my to-do list for the day, the week, the month, and making sure that I'm hitting all of the things that I need to get done and make sure that I'm prioritising correctly so that the most important things get done, but the long-term projects don't get left by the wayside either. What is one thing, admittedly, you don't know about the publishing industry still? And I think there are definitely big gaps in my knowledge because I work in certain departments. I still don't know how the production departments do what they do in terms of getting a manuscript and turning it into a physical book. I don't know some of the steps that they take to do that, and I'm so fascinated, and I probably would love to learn more, but I'm already learning so many things on the go at the moment still. But yes, I do think the production chain line of what goes on from getting a manuscript to a finished copy is something I don't know that much about, and I would still really, really love to. One of the key things that I would say, especially if you were struggling to land interviews and to really get in there, to get your foot in the door, is to create your own book social media. Just creating a bookstagram, for example, or whichever social media you are most on, something book related that gets you joining that community, that gets you working on your design skills, your editing skills, your video skills, even if you're not too good at it at first, but getting you linked into that community is incredibly valuable. You get to not only talk about people who like books, but you are sharpening some skills that you would need. And if you're managing doing this around your daily life, you're already learning prioritizing skills and time management skills, and those are things that you can put on your CV that you can bring up in interviews as well. So I think just taking the initiative to get started in ways that you can in terms of design and photography and video is a very good thing to do for getting into marketing. And what is one book that everyone should read? So I am gonna choose a Canongate book because we are here today, but one book that I do wish more people would read is The Startup Wife by Tahmima Anam. And this is a quirky, funny and fiercely feminist read where we follow our main character who creates a startup with her husband and her best friend. And of course, it's not easy when you co-found a company with the love of your life and your best friend in your life. And of course, things start to go wrong, and it seems like the two men that mean the most to her may be edging her out of the picture and taking credit for some of the amazing work that she has done. And it was one of those books that made me laugh out loud and was oddly quirky and different in certain ways, but at the same time was dealing with such an important and really relevant subject matter of feminism and women's rights and the way that women are treated, especially in the tech industry where women are often seen as incapable. And I loved that this book dealt with such a sensitive and very important topic and yet managed to keep things lighthearted, punchy and funny too. So this is a book I would recommend to everyone. Thank you for having me, and I hope to see you around some of my socials. Links in the description box down below. Bye!